Hi, I'm Tamara Jeffries, and I'm the Co-Production of Knowledge Program Manager here at Columbia's Center for Science and Society. And today we are hosting a webinar about our next grant opportunity, which is our Co-Production of Knowledge grant program, to give anyone information about applying and give people chances to ask questions they might have about the call for proposals and application in general. So just going through my agenda today, I'll be giving you a brief intro to the center itself, what we do, and the initiative which inspired the co-production grant opportunity. Then I'll outline everything you need to know about the grant itself, including eligibility requirements, necessary application components, helpful tips and questions we usually get, and an overview of important dates for the timeline of the application. So jumping right in, the Center for Science and Society, or CSS for short, is an interdisciplinary center housed at Columbia University holding the mission to create more opportunities for researchers and scholars and practitioners from various disciplines to engage in interdisciplinary research, teaching, and outreach. Overall, through our activities and operation, the center strives to enhance public understanding of science and societal issues and has been home to several research clusters, postdoc programs, grant opportunities, residency programs, and hosts a plethora of events throughout the academic year. It is co-directed by Pamela Smith and Rhiannon Stevens, who are both in Columbia's History Department. And here is also on this slide, you can see myself along with my other center colleagues that help fulfill the center's mission. So one of our key programs currently running at the center is our Co-Production of Knowledge Initiative, which is home to two grant opportunities, the Environmental Humanities Grants, which we won't be talking about today, and the Knowledge Co-Production Grants, which we are here to discuss. Just to get a bit of background about the initiative, it was started by Pamela Smith and Ajit Subramanian, Ajit is also a researcher and professor at Lamont. And it grew out of the conviction and observation that there is a fundamental need for research to be conducted in partnership and under the guidance from communities of which the researchers are interacting with to produce their projects. Acknowledging that community members have lived experience within their natural, social, and cultural environments means that they need to be key contributors and collaborators in the research process. So, thus, in a nutshell, using co-production as a technique encourages the production of equitable solutions based on community knowledge and priorities, and is dependent on deep collaborative efforts conducted within trusted relationships between all parties involved. Thus, the goal of our initiative, which you see here, is one, to help overturn hierarchies and often extractive relationships between communities and researchers, to help redistribute power and resources, to also counteract historically unequal research dynamics, and finally, to contribute to the creation of some forms of new knowledge. It's important to note here that co-production is not just engaging in general collaborative efforts or having surface level consultations with community members. It's really about building deep connections and relationships that allow you to work together. And the grant itself is not intended to be solely used to communicate already known information. It should be about generating new knowledge. So since initiating the grants in 2023, we've awarded just over $33,000 in total funding to support about 6 projects, both climate and non-climate related, and we are excited to support more. This year we are anticipating applications. We are accepting applications, my apologies, to grant 2 to 3 awards of up to $10,000 each, which will be given to support projects within any discipline, subject, or topic area of focus. A few important things to remember is that funds will be awarded directly to the community organization partnered on the application. Funds can be used only to support direct costs, and a full list of what is appropriate and non-appropriate uses of funds can be found in our call for proposals. And while environmental and epistemistic justice issues are of particular interest, the grant call is open for any discipline or subject area to apply. A common question we often receive also is how competitive the grant is. And while it's fairly competitive, it does vary from year to year. Now, there are two main criteria needed to determine if you're eligible to apply to the co-production grant. First, projects must include at least two core organizers, and the lead core organizer must be affiliated with an incorporated or registered community or place-based organization, meaning that if this organization is U.S.-based, CBO or community-based organization, it needs to have a 501c3 status to qualify. And international applicants are also welcome to apply. However, you will need to be affiliated with or be able to partner with a registered not-for-profit organization in the country of origin. Unfortunately, it's extremely difficult to administer funds internationally unless this is the case. And secondly, the secondary co-organizer must be a student or full-time staff at Columbia, Teachers College, or Barnard College, which includes faculty, professors, staff, students. And then the second criteria is that the Columbia affiliate must remain at the university through the duration of the grant period, which is through the fall of 2027. If you're an organization that doesn't have a Columbia affiliate, we are offering matching assistance. If you email me with your project descriptions, and we can get back to you. We can't guarantee that we will find you a match, but we can definitely try to see if there are people at Columbia who will be interested in working together. So for the application checklist materials, you will have your cover page, which will have your title of the proposal, everyone's names and their affiliations and email addresses, executive summary, and the total funding you seek. Your narrative should be 2 pages or less, describing the project, any relevant background information, and how it furthers co-production of knowledge and efforts to redistribute power and resources. We also like to note that there's no singular definition of co-production of knowledge, and we are looking to learn more about how applicants are viewing and understanding this method to produce information or knowledge collaboratively, and how all co-organizers would define success and or the overall project goals should also be included in your narrative. But we're encouraging you to think beyond traditional and academic metric-driven definitions of impact or success. The third thing will be a timeline of activities, which may include important dates like planned deliverables, project milestones, travel dates, etc. We also like to express that the process at Columbia takes a very long time, and transferring funds is not an easy or simple process. So it would be ideal to build this into your timeline and consider how this may impact the timeline of your spending and our budget considerations. The next thing is a line by line budget table, which includes justifications for each expense and notes if you have received and are planning on applying to any other additional funding sources. And lastly, a participant section, which should summarize or include a short bio or a CV of each participant, and include their responsibilities and the expected impact of their role. Lastly, just going over application process and timeline. As you know, today is the webinar, and starting today, please feel free to reach out via email with questions or to schedule a time to chat with me about your application or any other outstanding questions you may have. As I mentioned previously, you are if you are affiliated with a community organization and interested in applying but need support finding a Columbia partner, I'm happy to brainstorm ideas with you. The last day to reach out or initiate this request for support will be on July 31st. And to do so, simply email the listener's email address below, and with a brief description of your project and an ideal collaborator background. And I can start brainstorming. Unfortunately, I cannot provide the the same assistance for Columbia affiliates looking to form partnerships with community organizations, because again, we want these projects to be led by community-based organizations. However, if you want general assistance and learning best practices when engaging with these organizations, I'm also happy to help with that. The last day, I will be able to have one-on-one calls with anyone about their application will be October 6th. During these sessions, I'm happy to discuss things such as project development, how to refine your goals, forming realistic project timelines, budget justification questions, and similar topics. I am just not allowed to pre-read any application materials before they are formally submitted. And the last day to receive any application for support via email will be October 27th, or 24th, my apologies. And then the application for the grant is due on October 27th at 11:59 Eastern Time. And how to apply, you email all of the checklist materials as a single PDF to the Science Society email address with Co-Production of Knowledge 2025 grant application in the subject line, and we will reach out to confirm that we have received it. Thank you so much for listening and joining me today for our webinar. If you have any further questions or like to schedule a meeting with me to discuss more, feel free to email me directly at tj2550@columbia.edu and or our center email address. Thanks. Bye.